Talk with your bank and just find out what locations.
That's for cash, right?
Yes, to get cash. Credit cards are readily accepted. MasterCard, Visa, more so than American Express, although American Express is accepted over there. If you have a Discover card, just leave that at home because they don't even know what that is. There are hair dryers in the hotels, so I would probably recommend that you not even bother to bring a hair dryer with you, because you would need either a hair dryer that works on both voltages and a plug adapter, or you need a transformer, because any appliance that heats needs a transformer. And so that's just something more that you have to carry around with you. Obviously, many women do use hair straighteners. In that case, you would need a transformer. And you can usually purchase those at Radio Shack, or even Target has a pretty good travel section in their store now.
What about internet or cell phones?
Cell phones, this is kind of interesting because it used to be that AT&T and T-Mobile would allow you to use your phone overseas. Obviously, you had to notify them that you were planning on going overseas. I understand that with Verizon now, that they will, I don't know that they actually give it to you. Somebody said Verizon will give you a phone that you can use overseas. I have a feeling it's going to be maybe sort of a rental sort of thing, but yes, you can get an international phone to take with you, because your phone from here will not work there. Very honestly, it will not work there. Unless it's like a BlackBerry will work. But you do, that is a really important issue, is even if you have, say, a BlackBerry, you need to talk with your mobile phone provider about the fact that you're going to be traveling overseas, because a friend of mine left her BlackBerry on, so it was technically on roaming. It was hit with a tremendous phone bill when she got back, and they had no mercy. Another thing, going back to the fact of ATM cards and credit cards, you also need to let your credit card company know that you will be traveling overseas. Otherwise, the first time, let's say you find that perfect pair of shoes, and you give them the credit card, and it doesn't work, because it's in our own interest. It's an anti-fraud type of thing. So if you just notify your credit card company that you will be traveling overseas, they'll say, oh, okay.
And internet? Well, the two places that we're staying at.
I do need, I've got to be honest, I haven't checked on that. It is easier and easier to find hotels that have Wi-Fi now. I'm finding that most of them do. So I'll investigate that for you. If you don't have a laptop with you, they usually will have what they call an internet point, or a computer that you can use if you want to access messages.
Actually, we were in Ireland a couple of years ago, and my iPod was the most wonderful thing. It was so small, and instead of waiting to use the one computer, I could log on and check email.
As I said, it is more common now to find the internet access. And in our information sheet that you will receive, it has a lot of information with regard to, for example, even security in terms of, now you're not going to be, unless you go to Rome beforehand, you're really not going to be in large cities, but you do need to be careful in large cities of pickpockets, so I always recommend to clients to put their money in a money belt. You'll want a copy of your passport, and you keep that separate from your passport in case you should lose your passport, or it should be stolen or something like that.
Where do you go for a passport?
You can go to the post office. They definitely have the forms, and in some cases they have a certain day of the week that they will assist you in putting through your request. There's also a City of Scottsdale passport office. It's only open a couple of days a week, I think, when you go down there, as opposed to going all the way downtown.
Okay, thank you.
Now, if we're looking for, trying to find our flights there.
Just before I came here this evening, I was looking at flights, and right now they're about $13.50 out of Phoenix, in and out of Rome, which is actually pretty good.
Okay.
Because during the summer months, airfares are as high as $1,600.
Okay.
So $13.50 is probably going to be where it is. I don't know if there's a certain airline that you normally fly with, if you have a preference because you have miles with a specific airline. I will tell you that the easiest airlines to fly into Rome are Delta, because they have flights out of, you would fly either Phoenix to Atlanta or Phoenix to New York and then on to Rome. US Air has flights Phoenix, Philadelphia, Rome, Phoenix, Charlotte, Rome. So there are actually two options with US Air. And then I know that Continental flies into Rome as well, but the ones that I see most people flying out of Phoenix on are
For comfort traveling that long, do you recommend one over the other?
Not really. Now, I will say, it seems to me that I've flown a bit more on Delta, but the type of aircraft may be the same on US Air. In economy class, they'll have 2 seats, the aisle, 3 seats, aisle, 2 seats. So at least you don't feel like you're walking onto this huge aircraft when they're set up that way. So it's a little more comfortable than, say, the 747s that they used to use.
And do they tend to have like the little screens in the seat backs?
Yes, yes, they do. With numerous options for all the movies you want to watch and everything else. Yeah.
Because you're typically going to be traveling overseas overnight.
You're right.
But even on the return, because I'm fortunate enough that for the most part I do sleep, but on the return it's a long flight back. So when you can watch 3 or 4 movies, it's great. It's really great.
How long is the flight to Rome? Oh, well, approximately, depend, I'm sure.
Well, out of Atlanta to Rome is about 10 and a half hours, and then you're adding on the Phoenix to Atlanta, which is about 4, I think. And then you usually got a couple of hours of layover, so it's a pretty long flight.
So there's a good chance I would be going Friday night then, if we're talking that 10 hour, 14 to 15 hours.
Right. And if you're going to be flying on Delta or US Air, those flights leave out of here in the morning.
I wonder if it makes sense to go maybe stop somewhere else on the way, like London or something, I don't know. Is there a good place that you can stop?
That's a good point that you make, because sometimes, and you may want to even look into this, you can get cheap flights into London, and you can then from London get really inexpensive flights into Italy. So that's even worth considering. Now, when on an intercontinental flight like that, if you make a stopover, they usually charge you a little bit for it. And it might be $50 for the stopover.
So let's say we would go like on the 27th or 28th, is that what you're thinking? And spend a night?
Well, Lisa, you were talking about if you wanted to arrive on the day that the trip starts, you would leave on Saturday.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it starts on Sunday.
Right, okay, I just wanted to make sure, because time-wise, with, time off from work and everything, I don't really have much leeway on either end.
Right.
So if I could do Saturday and get there on time, that'd be good.
Yeah. And then the return is on a Sunday. You're going to be pretty darn tired by the time you get home?
Well, and the next day is Columbus Day, I think.
Oh, it might be.
Oh,
Now, the thing with British Airways, if you were to fly out of here, British Airways leaves here in the evening, so it wouldn't get you into Rome until the evening. So if you did decide that you were going to go on British Airways, you would actually need to leave on the 28th and overnight in Rome, so that the morning of the 30th you'd be there. There's a great Hilton at the airport, and I've stayed there more than once, and it's really easy because you walk out of the airport and you walk along what do you call it, those moving walkways, and it will take you right to the hotel.
What is the best airport to fly in and out of in London? Heathrow or Gatwick?
Well, some flights, and with British Airways it will connect through Heathrow, because from Phoenix it flies into London Heathrow, and there is a flight from Heathrow into Rome.
And how long is that approximately?
From
London
London to Rome, it's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours. That's not bad. The problem arises with some of the other airports in Italy, because in some cases you have to change airports in London, which is not an easy thing to do. I mean, it's well organized, but it just means picking up your bags and taking a bus or taking a taxi over to the other airport. But with Rome, they do have connecting flights.
In terms of when to book the flights, we don't want anybody to do that right now, right?
I think you should wait until you definitely have your core group. I think that would be a good idea. And also, 6 months out, the fares may still be a little bit high. I wouldn't wait until 2 months prior, because then they'll probably be high because they'll be sold out. You do need to keep in mind that at that time of year, there's still a lot of people that are cruising, and a lot of people go on cruise ships, and so there are a lot of passengers who are traveling to get to Rome to go on those cruise ships. So I would say, because we're about 6 months out right now, we said, right? I'd say within the next couple of months.
And there'll be some fabulous special in the next 2 months that we'll just all grab up and.
And
You know,
you'll be on that.
there oftentimes are.
Yeah.
And just sometimes with, I don't know, with Travelocity, some of these others,
Yeah.
you can, put in your email address so that they'll notify you.
For the transport to Umria, is that like leaving from the airport? Because it's
That's
a bus,
leaving
right?
from the airport, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there only one airport in Rome, or?
There's more than one, but the main one is Fiumicino.
And what's the port?
Civitavecchia. Well, that's the interesting thing about Italian. Aside from the fact that we'll provide you all with a little mini translator, which is fun to use, every letter that is in an Italian word is pronounced. There are no silent E's or long A's. The vowel sounds all are the same.
Yeah.
And even a word like Civitavecchia, which sounds like a lot,
Civitavecchia.
but if you look at it, you'll be able to divide up the syllables and you'll be able to say
Yes,
it
see.
because you pronounce everything that's in it.
Yes, you do.
And another thing that we were talking about is to have Maryanne's husband, like a month or so before, give us some language instruction, because
Oh,
he teaches,
my
he's
God.
Italian and he
Okay,
teaches it.
that's fine.
That's a bonus.
No, Italy, are they like kind of like France? Like if you go in and just say greeting in Italian, they're just very nice after
They
that.
very much appreciate the effort that you make.
And then say stop slaughtering my language.
I just
Enough.
have always, and tell me if you find different, I've always found the Italians to be so wonderfully
Yes,
friendly.
yes.
The first time I
Yes.
went, I didn't know any Italian. We were in a teeny tiny non-tourist city. They were still using lira, and I had a cheat sheet. I went shopping, I ordered food. Everybody could see that, I just needed help, and
Yeah.
it was great.
And this especially in cases of the small towns in Umbria, because in a sense they're not jaded by having so many tourists. They're really, really happy to see you.
Okay, a good question is, what's the appropriate dress for just running around, some places, are they jeans everywhere appropriate or not as much jeans?
Jeans are quite appropriate.
Okay.
I used to tell people that shorts are not worn. I'm seeing now that they're in the cities that they're wearing shorts, although by the time that you arrive there, it would probably not be time for shorts anyway anymore.
But isn't it still true to go into the church? You need to
Yes.
cover your shoulders.
Yeah, you need to have your shoulders covered. I don't know that any of you would be walking around with a really, really short skirt, but that's not appropriate going into a church. It's basically no sleeveless tops, no shorts, no short skirts when you're going into a church, out of sign of respect.